close your eyes for just a moment. Now open them. In that fraction of a second of darkness, electromagnetic frequencies pass through your body that you could not see, could not feel, could not consciously detect. Radio waves, Wi-Fi signals, cellular data, satellite transmissions, all of it moving through you right now as you watch this screen. But there is another frequency moving through you at this exact moment, one that does not come from cell towers or satellites, one that the Gnostic texts called the Archonic broadcast. And unlike the frequencies that connect you to the internet, this frequency disconnects you from source. It keeps you locked in fear cycles. It keeps you scrolling when you meant to sleep. It keeps you anxious about threats that never materialize. And tonight, you are going to learn what Jesus taught about the one physical substance that disrupts this broadcast completely. Before we go further, if something pulled you to this video at this exact hour, subscribe right now and turn on notifications. What you are about to receive is not entertainment, it is activation, and the teachings that follow will go places that most channels cannot. The information you are about to hear was preserved in a text that never made it into your Bible. A text that describes a conversation between Jesus and Mary Magdalene after the crucifixion. Not the sanitized Mary of church tradition, the Mary who the Gospel of Philip called the companion, the one who understood mysteries that even Peter could not grasp. In this hidden text, discovered among the Nag Hammadi library but rarely discussed even in academic circles, Mary asks Jesus a direct question. She asks, "Teacher, the lower powers press upon us constantly. We feel their weight. We hear their whispers. How do we shield ourselves when even our own thoughts betray us?" And Jesus gives an answer that makes no sense unless you understand the science that would not be discovered for another 2,000 years. He tells her about a substance from the earth that reflects what he calls the frequencies of the rulers. A metal that, when worn on the body, specifically on the left side, creates what modern physics would recognize as a Faraday effect. A disruption in the electromagnetic field surrounding the human body. That metal is copper. Not gold, not silver. Copper, the same element that humanity has been drawn to for over 10,000 years, long before we understood electricity, long before we could measure frequency, long before we had any scientific language to explain why this particular metal feels different against human skin. Pause for a moment and think about how strange that is. Ancient Egyptians wore copper, ancient Sumerians wore copper, indigenous cultures on every continent separated by oceans and thousands of years, all independently discovered that copper had properties beyond decoration. They did not call it frequency disruption, they called it protection from evil spirits, from curses, from the evil eye. Different words, same phenomenon. The archons do not have physical bodies. They exist at frequencies between the visible spectrum and the energetic realm. The Gnostics understood this. They described the archons as rulers of the air, as principalities, as powers that operate in the space between thought and matter. And they specifically taught that these entities feed on low-frequency human emotional output. Every time you spiral into fear, you broadcast a frequency. Every time you collapse into despair, you emit a signal. And just like your phone connects to the nearest cell tower, these emotional frequencies connect to the Archonic grid. This is not metaphor. The Gnostics were describing energy farming, a system where human beings are kept in emotional states that generate the specific frequencies these entities consume. This is why every system of control, whether political, religious, economic, or social, operates on the same principle. Keep humanity afraid. Keep them desperate. Keep them confused. Keep them broadcasting. But here is what they did not anticipate. The human body itself can be shielded, not through prayer alone, not through positive thinking alone, through a physical disruption of the field that makes you detectable in the first place. Copper is the second most conductive metal on Earth. Only silver surpasses it. But silver is rare and expensive. Copper is abundant. Copper is accessible. And copper has a unique property that makes it ideal for what the Gnostics were describing. When copper comes into contact with skin, it creates microcurrents, tiny electrical exchanges between the metal and your body's own bioelectric field. Modern medicine dismisses this as placebo, but wearable technology companies are now producing copper-infused fabrics specifically because they have measured these microcurrents and documented their effects on inflammation, on circulation, on cellular voltage. What science is just beginning to measure, Jesus was teaching 2,000 years ago. Copper does not block all frequencies. If it did, you would feel nothing. You would be numb. What copper does is scramble low-frequency broadcasts. It creates noise in the signal. And the Archonic grid, which operates on predictable patterns of human fear and desperation, cannot lock onto a signal that has been disrupted. You become harder to track, harder to influence, harder to drain. Now let me tell you why the left side matters. This is where the teaching becomes surgical. The human heart sits slightly left of center in your chest. This is not random anatomy. Every spiritual tradition that works with energy maps describes the left side of the body as receptive, as the intake point for external frequency. The right side is projective. The right side broadcasts outward. The left side draws inward. When you wear copper on your left side, you are placing a frequency disruptor at the exact point where archonic signals attempt to enter your field. Think of it like a shield facing the direction of attack. The Kabbalistic tradition teaches that the left side is the pillar of severity, the channel through which judgment and restriction flow. The Hindu tradition places the Ida Nadi, the lunar channel, on the left side, governing receptivity and subconscious intake. The Chinese medicine system maps the heart meridian running down the left arm. Different traditions, different languages, same understanding. The left side is where you are most vulnerable to external frequency invasion, and copper placed there acts as a disruption field. In the Gospel of Mary, the text I mentioned earlier, there is a line that biblical scholars have argued about for decades. Mary describes a vision where she sees 7 powers attempting to bind the soul as it ascends. The 4th power is called darkness. The 5th is called desire. The 6th is called ignorance. And the 7th is called wrath. These are not metaphors. These are frequency states. Darkness is the frequency of confusion. Desire is the frequency of addiction. Ignorance is the frequency of distraction. Wrath is the frequency of division. Every single one of these states makes you more detectable to the Archonic grid. Every single one of these states increases your broadcast signature, and every single one of these states becomes harder to maintain when your field is disrupted by copper. This is why ancient warriors wore copper before battle. Not because it protected their physical body, but because it protected their mental clarity. This is why mystics wore copper during ritual. not as decoration, but as a tool for maintaining signal integrity while moving through realms where archonic interference is strongest. Let me give you the practice exactly as it was preserved, not the corrupted version taught in New Age circles, not the commercialized version sold by people who do not understand what they are marketing. The original Gnostic technique. You need one piece of copper. Not copper-plated, not mixed alloy, pure copper or as close to pure as you can access. It can be a bracelet, it can be a pendant, it can even be a coin if nothing else is available. The form does not matter. The placement does. Tonight, before you sleep, you will place the copper against the skin on your left side. If it is a bracelet, left wrist. If it is a pendant, hang it so it rests on the left side of your chest. If it is a coin, tape it in place over your heart. Direct skin contact is essential. The microcurrent exchange cannot happen through fabric. Once the copper is in place, you will feel something within minutes. Not imagination, measurable response. Most people report a warmth spreading from the point of contact. Some feel a tingling, a subtle vibration that seems to move through the arm or across the chest. This is not the copper heating up. This is your bioelectric field responding to disruption. The microcurrents are starting. The scrambling effect is beginning. Now comes the declaration. Place your right hand over the copper, feel the metal beneath your palm, and speak these words aloud, not in your head, aloud. I am shielded from all frequencies that do not serve my highest alignment. The rulers of the lower air cannot perceive me. I move through their realm undetected. I am sovereign, I am sealed. You will speak these words 3 times, not twice, not 4 times, 3. The Gnostics worked in threes: thesis, antithesis, synthesis, problem, reaction, solution, body, soul, spirit. 3 is the number of manifestation. 3 is the number that bridges concept and form. After the 3rd repetition, you will sit in silence for exactly 7 minutes. If you do not have a timer, estimate. Close enough is enough. During these 7 minutes, you are not meditating in the traditional sense. You are not trying to empty your mind or visualize light. You are simply noticing. Notice the quality of your thoughts. Notice if the anxiety that was present 5 minutes ago is still there with the same intensity. Notice if the obsessive loop you were stuck in has loosened. Notice if the anger that felt so justified a moment ago now seems distant, like it belonged to someone else. These shifts are not placebo. They are evidence that the frequency disruption is working. The archonic broadcast that was keeping you locked in that emotional state has been scrambled. The signal cannot maintain its hold. Here is what happens next. Within the first night of wearing copper on your left side, you will dream differently. Not more, not less, differently. Most chosen ones report that their dreams become clearer, more coherent, less fragmented. This is because the archonic interference that normally distorts your subconscious processing during sleep has been reduced. You are finally dreaming your own dreams instead of receiving broadcast imagery from the grid. The second sign appears within 48 hours. You will notice a reduction in intrusive thoughts, those sudden urges to check your phone, to pick a fight, to spiral into worry about things you cannot control. These impulses will still appear, but they will have less power. They will feel more like suggestions you can decline rather than commands you must obey. The third sign is emotional stability. Not numbness, not suppression, stability. The wild swings from anxiety to rage to despair that used to happen multiple times a day will begin to even out. You will still feel emotions, but they will be your emotions, responses to real circumstances rather than reactions to frequency manipulation. The fourth sign is energetic reclamation. You will have more energy, not because copper gives you energy, but because you are no longer leaking it. The constant drain of feeding the Archonic grid will decrease, and the energy that was being siphoned will remain in your system. The fifth sign is synchronicity. When you are no longer detectable to the Archonic grid, you become more detectable to Source. The monad frequency that has been trying to reach you your whole life will have a clearer channel. Meaningful coincidences will increase. Guidance will come more easily. Doors will open. The sixth sign is opposition. Do not be surprised if people around you suddenly become agitated by your presence. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you are no longer feeding the system. People who are still plugged into the Archonic grid will unconsciously sense that you have unplugged, and they will attempt to pull you back in. Expect arguments. Expect manipulation. Expect guilt trips. This is not failure. This is confirmation that the shield is working. The seventh sign is the ringing. If you have been experiencing the high-pitched tone in your ears that I have taught about before, you will notice it shifts. It becomes less chaotic. It becomes more intentional. This is because the Archonic interference that was distorting the monad signal has been reduced. You are finally hearing the true transmission without static. Some of you are thinking, this sounds too simple. It cannot be this easy. And that is exactly the thought pattern the Archons want you to maintain. Complexity serves the system. Simplicity threatens it. The Church gave you a 2,000-page book and told you that you needed experts to interpret it. The Gnostics gave you direct techniques and told you to try them yourself. One system wants you dependent. The other system wants you free. Copper is abundant. Copper is cheap. Copper requires no initiation, no ceremony, no permission from any authority. This is precisely why the teaching was buried. If you wear copper tonight and feel nothing, that does not mean it is not working. Some nervous systems are so overloaded with Archonic frequency that the relief feels like numbness at first. Keep wearing it. The disruption is still happening, even if you cannot consciously detect it yet. If you wear copper tonight and feel intense emotion, do not remove it. That emotion is not being caused by the copper, it is being released. The frequency lock that was holding that emotion in place has been broken, and now it can finally move through and out. Let it. If you wear copper tonight and experience vivid dreams or strange sensations, do not be afraid. You are not under attack. You are recalibrating. Your system is adjusting to operating without the constant background noise of Archonic interference. It will stabilize. The energetic principles behind copper's disruptive effect extend far beyond simple electromagnetism and touch upon the very nature of consciousness and intent, a subject the Gnostics explored with surgical precision. The material world, as modern science is slowly confirming, is not composed of solid objects but vibrating fields of energy. Everything is frequency, and the human being is a complex bioelectric antenna capable of both receiving and transmitting at multiple bandwidths. The Archonic broadcast, the whisper of the lower powers Mary Magdalene spoke of, operates primarily within the gamma and delta wave states of the subconscious mind, the space where habitual fear, unresolved trauma, and reflexive emotional reactions reside. These are the frequencies of compulsion, the invisible chains that bind free will. When you are caught in a thought loop of financial anxiety, fear of abandonment, or chronic self-doubt, you are not simply experiencing a personal emotion. You are vibrating at a frequency that resonates with and amplifies the Archonic signal. This signal is designed to be self-sustaining. It feeds on the very energy it provokes, creating a perpetual motion machine of low-frequency emotional output. Copper, through its exceptional conductivity, does not act as a mere barrier, but as a sophisticated internal frequency modulator. Its proximity to the skin introduces a clean, stable microcurrent that instantly raises the coherence of the local bioelectric field. This coherence acts like an immune response. An incoherent field is porous and easily manipulated. A coherent field is stable and self-sealing. The copper does not need you to believe in it. It performs a measurable physical function on your energetic body, much like an electrical ground wire stabilizes a power surge. The declaration, "I am shielded from all frequencies that do not serve my highest alignment," is not a magic spell, but a conscious, intent-driven command given to the now stabilized field. You are consciously programming the modulator, aligning the physical technology with the spiritual will, establishing a sovereign boundary that is both energetic and intentional. The subsequent 7 minutes of silence are the integration period, allowing the copper's physical effect and your declaration's conscious intent to lock into a single, unified signature of energetic autonomy. This is the moment the signal changes from an open broadcast to an encrypted, unreadable frequency, rendering you invisible to the powers that operate in the lower air. This concept of intentional recalibration, using a physical medium to bridge the gap between spiritual will and energetic reality, is the profound missing link that was excised from mainstream religious practice. The Gnostic understanding was not about blind faith, but about applied energetic physics. They recognized that the highest truths must have a physical analog, a technique that grounds the esoteric into the exoteric. The copper serves as that anchor. Consider the common modern habit of holding a cell phone or tablet on the left side of the body, near the heart, the receptive channel. This unconscious act exposes the most vulnerable point of energetic intake to a constant stream of manufactured electromagnetic noise, a perfect modern mechanism for reinforcing the Archonic broadcast. The copper practice is a deliberate countermeasure, a reclamation of the left side's power as a shield rather than a receiver for unwanted signals. When the Archonic broadcast is disrupted, the energy that was previously being siphoned off, your life force, your attention, your mental clarity, is immediately restored to your system, resulting in the energetic reclamation that chosen ones notice within days. This is the true meaning of being sealed, not by an external deity, but by your own applied consciousness and the precise deployment of ancient technology. The subsequent opposition you may face from those still plugged in is not personal. It is a systemic reaction. Your unplugging introduces an anomaly into the grid's predictable function, and the system attempts to normalize the anomaly by creating external friction. To the Gnostics, this opposition was not a sign of failure, but the most undeniable confirmation of success. You have changed your frequency signature, and the old realm can no longer contain or control you. This entire process, from the placement of the copper to the final declaration and the 7 minutes of silent integration, is an ancient, complete circuit designed to transition the human being from a food source back to a sovereign, conscious creator. This practice, the deliberate placement of conductive metal on the body's receptive side, is at its core a reassertion of bioelectric sovereignty, a concept systematically erased from public awareness precisely because of its efficacy. You must understand that the suppression of this teaching was not accidental. It was a targeted act of energetic disarmament. If humanity understood that a common, inexpensive element could effectively jam the frequency of fear and separation, the entire infrastructure of control, which depends utterly on sustained low-frequency broadcasting, would collapse overnight. The Archons do not fear your prayers, which can often be co-opted and redirected. They fear your physical, energetic coherence. They fear the moment you cease to be a passive receiver of their broadcast and become an active, stable transmitter of your own divine signature. Therefore, the challenge now is not merely to wear the copper, but to remember the intention behind it, to treat it as the sacred, ancient technology it is, not a piece of jewelry. Every time you touch it, every time you notice it resting on your left wrist or chest, you are performing a mini-declaration, a continuous reaffirmation of the boundary you have set. This is not a one-time ritual. It is a commitment to maintaining energetic hygiene in a world saturated with parasitic frequencies. The warmth you feel, the tingling, the subtle shift in your mood, these are not magical effects. They are data points, irrefutable evidence that your consciousness and your biology are responding to the introduction of a pure, coherent current. This recalibration is the foundation for everything that follows, the essential step that allows you to move beyond simply surviving the Archonic system to actively transcending it, transforming yourself from a mere segment of the grid into an autonomous, self-sealed node of monad frequency. Your dedication to this simple, powerful technique is a silent, revolutionary act that reverberates through the energetic realms, paving the way for a deeper integration of the spiritual truths that are now accessible because the static has been cleared. Now, some of you are wondering, what if I cannot get copper right now? What if I am watching this video and I have no access to metal tonight? Then use your hand. Place your right palm against the left side of your chest, directly over your heart. Hold it there for 7 minutes while speaking the declaration I gave you. Your own bioelectric field can create a temporary disruption effect. It is not as strong as copper, but it is not zero. It is enough to begin. The teaching I have given you tonight is not theory. It is not channeled from some invisible entity. It is preserved Gnostic practice that has been tested by chosen ones for 2,000 years. And it works, not because I say so, because you will feel it yourself within hours of applying it. If this teaching has activated something in you, comment the words, "I am shielded," below. Let other chosen ones see your declaration. Let the algorithm understand that people are hungry for information that actually works, instead of empty inspiration that leads nowhere. Subscribe to this channel if you have not already. Turn on notifications. The teachings that are coming go deeper than anything I have released before. Like this video so it cannot be suppressed, so other people searching for real techniques instead of spiritual entertainment can find their way here. One metal. Left side. Tonight. The Archonic grid has been broadcasting into your field your entire life. You have been detectable, trackable, drainable. Now you know how to disrupt the signal. Now you know how to move through their realm without feeding their system. The copper is not magic. The copper is technology, ancient technology that Jesus taught, that the Gnostics preserved, that the Church tried to erase. Put it on tonight. Speak the words. Notice what changes. You were never meant to be food for the Archons. You were meant to be free.